Welcome to the GetRealWealth.com radio show, where wealth means a lot more than just building a second stream of income. Listen and learn how 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate to create a lifestyle that most people only dream about. A lifestyle that includes good health, family, romance, travel, charity, and all the other parts of a balanced life. Now, here is your host, real estate investor and mentor, Steve Davis.
Good afternoon and welcome to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I am your host, Steve Davis, where, as always, we're here talking about creating a better life through investing and building wealth with real estate, building a second stream of income. This is what the top 5% of Americans do, and unfortunately, only the top 5% of Americans retire successfully. The other 95% are either dead at 65 or their burdens on the government, their burdens on their kids. It's really pretty bad. And I was reading this or listening to this famous insurance salesman. I always forget his name, from about 100 years ago. It literally was 100 years ago. And you know the statistics were the same. This was a 100-year-old radio show, and he was talking about how 95% of people fail and only 5% of people succeed financially. So things aren't changing. You know, it's part of our mission at Real Wealth Academy to help people change that. But it just seems that 80-20 rule holds true, that 80% of the results flow from the top 20% of the people, and then the 80% of the results flow from the top 20% of the 20%, which is about 4%, 4 or 5%. The top 5% get all the success, all the fun, all the love, it doesn't seem fair, but that's what's going on. And what we're going to talk about today is how these people set their goals differently from the way the middle class and the poor do. The middle class and the poor have a different focus, and it's only slight. And what I mean by that is when I share with you the difference between the way a millionaire sets their goals and the way the middle class sets their goals, you're going to go, that's all there is? That's the difference? Yeah, it really is that minor. But the results are tremendously different, tremendously different. Let's hack away at the middle class belief system as to what goals they set. When I was poor, I was trying to get into the middle class. And, well, God, that's weird now that I think about it and say that out loud. That was exactly what I was trying to do. I thought I was trying to be a millionaire, but I was really acting and behaving like the middle class. And as a result, I got middle class results. But what I did was I set the goal, and we're going way back to age 16. I set the goal of being a millionaire. And to get to the millionaire status, I thought, and so I set the goal of getting a degree from a major university. And I began behaving like someone, or my action steps, again, behaving like someone who wanted to go to college. I studied hard in high school, got straight A's, got myself a scholarship to Texas A&M, and went to Texas A&M. Then my goals were big house, big fancy house, Ferrari, boat, clothes, watches, and I set all of those, what I thought were millionaire goals. And what ended up happening is I ended up starting to achieve some of those goals. But they didn't take me closer to being a millionaire. They took me further away from being a millionaire. How many of you, as I describe my goals, recognized yourself in those goals? I want the big house, big fancy house. I want the fancy car. I want that Jaguar. I want that Mercedes. I want that Porsche. I want a boat. I want the fancy clothes. I want a Rolex. And these are all the goals that not only the middle class set, but those goals keep them in the middle class. And the reason it does is because none of those are worthwhile goals. None of them. Big house, fancy car, boat, clothes, watches, none of those have anything to do with becoming a millionaire. Not one of those things has anything to do with becoming a millionaire. See, when I started getting around millionaires and I started meeting them, I noticed that their goals were different. They had the big houses. They had the Jaguars, the Porsches, the Mercedes, the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis. They had the boats. They had the beach houses. But those weren't their goals. Their goals were slightly different. What they did was they recognized that the cars, the houses, the clothes, the jewelry are symbols of success, not success. They can represent success, but they can also represent the middle class, which I'm going to suggest is not successful. They're struggling. Simply put, when you go out and set the goal of getting a fancy house, of getting a fancy car, and getting all these symbols of success, you are completely wrong. Those aren't the goals. The goals that millionaires set are as follows. I will buy enough rental houses that it produces X amount of income for me every month. Let's say 10,000. Then those of you that have lots of money, 60,000, 100,000, 200 or more, you're kind of skipping single family and going straight to apartments. So your goal would be, I'm going to buy enough apartments and invest in apartments until I have $20,000 a month income. Guess what you can buy with $20,000 a month income? Houses, cars, boats, beach houses, clothes, watches. See the difference? They set their goals for financial success, and by default, they get the toys and the symbols of success. Whereas the person that goes out and buys the symbols of success first, they become a slave to those symbols and can never build wealth. We'll talk more about that after the break here on the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You're listening to AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Hi, this is Steve Davis, host of the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Catastrophes happen in the U.S. and around the world on a regular basis, causing tremendous financial difficulty for those unprepared. However, some people are prepared. These are the people with a second stream of income. This month, we are offering a free 2-hour workshop on how to use real estate to build a second stream of income for your family. For reservations, visit GetRealWealth.com and click on the free workshop button at the top of the page. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Remember, you can email me at any time during the show or after the show. I prefer it during the show so I can answer your question live on the air. But it's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Asksteve@getrealwealth.com. You may also call me at 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. So let's talk about the middle class strategy. Remember, the goal of the middle class is to have a fancy house, fancy car, fancy boat, all these toys. That's where their focus is. And they try to take a shortcut and buy that out of their earned income, their job income. So let's take a family that makes $120,000 a year, $10,000 a month. Pretty good income, right? Well, let's look at it. After taxes, what do they bring home? About $7,500. So they've got $7,500 to work with. And what do? Because of the middle class mentality, they go out and buy the big house. And now they've got a mortgage payment of $3,000 a month. Then they go buy the fancy car. And they have a car and insurance payment of about $1,000 a month. Then they purchase the boat or whatever other toys that they're interested in, and that costs to maintain about $1,000 a month. So that's $4,000 right there. I'm sorry, $5,000 right there, leaving them about $2,500 a month for garbage, gas, electric, maintenance, all the other expenses that come with living. Now, how many of you realize that $2,500 a month is really not that much for all those expenses? How much do they have left over every month to save? Not much, if any. See why the middle class stays poor? They live paycheck to paycheck because they allow lifestyle creep to come in to operate on them. And what lifestyle creep is when you have you ever noticed that when you made $60,000 a year, you live paycheck to paycheck? Now here it is 10 years later, you're making $100,000 a year and you still live paycheck to paycheck. You ever notice that? That's lifestyle creep. You got a raise, so you bought a nicer car. You got a promotion, so you bought a bigger house. You got a promotion, so you bought a boat. And that keeps you in that paycheck to paycheck mentality. And really it's a reality. But what if you just reversed it and took the credit and the money necessary to buy that home and bought yourself a small apartment? You took the money and the credit that it took to buy that Porsche and that Baja 342 boat and bought another small apartment. And then you took the profit from those two small apartments and bought a third large apartment. And now you have $20,000 a month income. Then, and only then, should you go buy the big house, the Porsche, the boat, the Rolex, and so on. See, it's just a reverse of the way people think. The middle class wants the toys first, and I'm not sure who coined this phrase, but it's the instantaneous gratification need. We want the house, the car, and the boat, so we go straight for it. And we take our earned income to pay for it. When the rich don't, they build their passive income or second stream of income first. Then, with that second stream of income, they buy toys. They still get the same toys that you do, but they do it in a fashion that makes them wealthy and financially independent. All it is take your goals and flip-flop them. Because what a lot of people say is, well, as soon as I buy a house and I've got the fancy car, I'm going to start saving and investing. See the problem there? When you buy the house and the fancy car, you don't have any money left to save to invest. You destroyed your life with that house and that fancy car. destroyed your life. But you were told to do that, weren't you? That was what you were told by parents, teachers, professors, even financial planners. It's insane. It's such a basic concept. Build your second stream of income first, then buy the toys. Robert Kiyosaki puts it very well in Rich Dad, Poor Dad when he says, the middle class run around and say, I can't afford it. Millionaires say, how can I afford it? And the answer is always the same. Get more passive income. You can afford anything if you just go work on the passive income first. Don't even think about big houses. Don't even think about the Jaguar. Don't even think about the Ferrari, the boat, the Rolex. You don't need to think about them. They'll come by default if you'll put your focus where it should be, and that is, and I know I'm irritating the daylights out of people with big houses and fancy cars. Do you know that many people listen to this show? They go sell their house, they go sell their cars and start over using the concept that I just shared with you, and they end up getting a bigger house, a nicer car, a nicer boat, simply because they're willing to make the sacrifice. Now, I'm not telling you to sell your house or your car. Not everybody needs to do that. Unfortunately, though, some of you do. You've got yourself so in debt with these toys that you know good and well you're going to be broke at 65. Broke. And you know it. Some of you do need to sell the house, sell the car. But what's coming up when I say that? The ego. How many of you are embarrassed to sell your expensive home and move into a lesser home because you're afraid of what people will think? It's all ego-based crap. All of it. But it paralyzes people. There's some people listening to me right now that are going, Steve is absolutely accurate. He's telling the truth, but I'm not going to do it because I can't stand my ego being hurt and selling my expensive home and my expensive cars and going and buying a $200,000 house and driving a Hyundai for 5 years or 10 years. They can't do it. And you know what? When they're broke at 65, you know who it will be that they blame? Somebody else. When in reality, it was their lack of control of their ego that caused it. See, let your ego go. Sell the house. I'm not telling this for everybody, by the way. But there are some of you, and you know who you are. Sell that stinking house. It's a freaking liability, not an asset. It takes money out of your pocket every month. Remember, assets put money in your pocket every month. Liabilities take money out of your pocket every month. And these dumb financial planners go, oh, your home's your biggest asset. What? It's your biggest liability. It's not an asset. So get rid of it. Start over. Get control of your ego. Get rid of that house. Get rid of that car. Get yourself a $200,000 house and a Hyundai. Live lean for 5 or 10 years and make yourself rich. And then go buy a bigger, nicer house, a nicer car, a nicer boat, and so on. It's really that simple. But the ego doesn't want to do it, does it? Name something else that's keeping you from doing it if you don't think it's the ego. It's all the ego. Ego-based crap. So when I talk about setting goals, I'm talking about setting worthwhile goals to help and serve other people, which is what your second stream of income does. With us, it's providing a safe, secure, clean, functional place to live to people who generally couldn't afford it otherwise. You figure out how you're going to help and serve other people, build that second stream of income, then and only then, when the second stream of income can pay for it, do you upgrade your lifestyle. Only then do you buy the big fancy house. Only then do you buy the expensive car, the Rolex, and so on. Don't even put those on your goal list. Now, I'm kind of a hypocrite because those were on my goal list, but you got to understand, if I had it to do over again, I wouldn't have even bothered. I would have just, under my wealth goals, I would have just said 100 single family houses, 4,000 units of apartments, and that's all I would have written. Because I have the understanding now that all those other things come as a result of that by default. They just do. And that's a worthwhile goal. And make sure that your goal too defines it. Exactly. I guess I better say it real quickly. You want your goal to say, I will help 4,000 families have a place to live. That's how I'm going to make money. You've got to define how you're going to help and serve other people under that goal. Okay, this is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You can call me at 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. This is AM 700, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Do you dream of a better life for you and your family? Do you want more time with your family? Would you like to travel more? Would you like to be less dependent on a job for your income? The solution is simple. Build a second stream of income. We can show you how. We are offering a free 2-hour introductory workshop on how to use real estate to build a second stream of income for you and your family. To reserve a seat, visit GetRealWealth.com and click on the free workshop button at the top of the page. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. If you've got a question for me, you can call me right now at AskSteve@GetRealWealth.com. AskSteve@GetRealWealth.com. We've been talking about setting goals and the way the middle class sets their goals and the poor set their goals and the way millionaires set their goals and how different they are, but how similar they are, meaning we all want, as a rule, the same thing. Everybody wants the big house, the fancy car, and quality of lifestyle. It's just how they go about it is different. They put investments first and let the investments pay for those toys, where the middle class thinks that they're going to buy those toys out of their earned income, their job income, and then somehow have enough to save to go invest later. They put off investing till after they buy all the toys. That's ego-based living. It literally destroys your life. Destroys your life. Okay, let's start with some emails and bigger pocket questions. Remember, you can email me at any time. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Okay, did you have a seminar last night on Facebook? Yes. Found the page, but I couldn't hear you. Not sure. It worked. We tested it. I will tell you this. Okay, it's hard to tell who this is. I'm just going to leave it anonymous. I'm doing one next Thursday on Zoom instead of Facebook and Instagram. It'll be on Zoom and probably Facebook and Instagram. But Zoom is much more effective, in my opinion, because you'll be able to see the PowerPoint presentation more clearly. We did have it filmed last night so you could see me and the PowerPoint behind me, but it was on a TV, so I'm not sure how well people could see it. So if you could not hear it last night, go back to the website and come next Thursday and use Zoom. It's free, and you'll be able to log on, and I can't guarantee you'll hear it because there may be something wrong with your sound card or sound on your computer, but it'll work. We tested it last night on multiple computers with multiple people. So everybody else had sound. I don't know why you didn't have sound. But register for next week's event on Zoom, and it's a little easier to manage. I think you'll like it better than Facebook or Instagram video. Okay. And that reminds me, I was going to try to go a little bit longer on Zoom, but since we're on Instagram at the same time, it'll still be under 1 hour. We'll start at 6:30 and we're done by 7:30. But to register for that, go to getrealwealth.com, upper right hand corner, click free workshop. Okay, is a real estate attorney needed for a wholesaling? The answer to that is I've never used one. I don't know why you would need an attorney for a wholesale deal. And the title company has an attorney. So once you turn it over to the title company, it's got an attorney looking at it anyway. So the answer is no. Now, could you use an attorney in a very complex situation? What complex is when your buyer tries to go around you to get the deal or something like that. Then you might need an attorney, but I doubt it. Whenever buyers tried to go around me, I just retracted the contract and went and sold it to somebody else. Some scumbag like that, you're never going to do business with them again anyway, so it doesn't matter. So the answer is no, you do not need an attorney for wholesale transactions. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV, or you're welcome to email me at asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Okay, 40-year-old with $300,000 in a 401k. This is a tough question. He's asking whether he should just cash out the 401k, pay the tax and penalty, and get that money out. That is an option, and it's not a horrible option at your age. Now, if you were in your 50s, I would say leave the money where it is and just self-direct it. But if you're trying to build cash flow, that is a viable option. But there are other ways to get to the 401k because of some laws that have changed in the last 3 to 5 years that allow you to pull that 401k from your company, give it to your spouse, and then you still control it, and use it as a self-directed 401k trust, I believe it's called, and use that money without tax or penalty. Doing it that way, I've seen case studies where that made the family, especially with a big chunk of money like that, $300,000, made the family $1.6 million more than if they had paid the taxes and penalty. So you really need to take a class on this. My CPA, Nathan Ross, talks about this. We teach classes on it. We're going to do a webinar on it for the members of Real Wealth Academy. If you're not a member of Real Wealth Academy, you really want to consider it because we know how to do it, and a lot of our members are going to do it. They're going to pull their money out of their 401k, put it in a 401k, self-employed 401k trust, and go buy real estate with it. It's really a cool option. All right, let's go to the phone lines now, which are open at 281-558-5738, and talk to Ralph in the San Antonio market. Ralph, thanks a lot for calling in. How are you today?
Doing fine, Steve. So I am in the San Antonio market. I'm interested in getting into real estate here.
Okay.
What's a good range to be looking at, price-wise, to buying properties?
Well, really across Texas, it's about the same. I'm going to expand it a little bit for San Antonio. My pat answer in Dallas-Fort Worth, my pat answer in Houston is 150 to 220. I go down as low as 130, 140 in San Antonio in the smaller towns, and up to about 200. So if you look for the ARVs, after repaired value, neighborhoods like that, you're going to find cash flow.
Okay. And how much of that is what is the hard currency versus what you bring?
Hard money loan?
Hard money, yes.
You know, my last 20 deals, my average out of pocket was between 18 and 24, so about 20, 21 is about average out of pocket. I think that's going to drop dramatically after the COVID response is over. When 2008 came, man, my down payments were $0 to $6,500. I think you're going to see a lot of that coming up after the COVID response.
Okay. Good source for learning more on how to go about all this.
You're looking for a source?
Yes, I want to learn more.
Oh, yeah. Sorry for the sales pitch, but take my course. I know you got to come to Houston to do it for a weekend, but that's what I do, Ralph. I take people for a day and a half. It's all day Saturday and morning, 8 a.m. to noon on Sunday. And I go over all of the basic stuff. Then you get 2 years of mentoring along with the 2-day class, the weekend class, and we walk you step by step through your deals. In other words, as you're doing your deals, you get stuck, you just pick up the phone, call one of my mentors, he'll say, go do this and call me back. You go do that, call him back. He'll tell you what to do next, and he'll walk you step by step through your deals. That 2-year package is normally $2,000. It's on sale now because of COVID for $500. So that would be my recommendation. And if you don't go with us, there's a lot of good clubs out there, Ralph, for you to get this information at.
Okay. And if I do look somewhere else, how do I distinguish between the good ones and the bad ones?
You want to always attend their free sales pitch, which is the free workshop like I'm doing next Thursday. Go to the free sales pitch and get a sense for the way that they teach and their credibility. But I got to tell you, man, I have bought every stinking program out there, and there's not one of them that I hate. I learned a lot from every one of them. The guys, I'll tell you one other thing. You know the guys that I did find were the weakest? Guess what? They're gone. The strong ones are still out there, Ralph. Just attend some workshops and then make a decision which one you like best. I don't think you're going to get burned.
Okay.
All right, Ralph. Thanks a lot for the phone call. You take care. Yeah, I think I better preface that every time I mention I bought over $100,000 worth of books and CDs, and a lot of it wasn't on real estate investing. Let's see. Let's just go with the $30,000 number that I used before I ever even bought my first piece of real estate. I spent $30,000 on boot camps, workshops, CDs, books, and so on. I learned something from every single one of them that made me money. This will crack you up. That little, I think it was $10. Robert Allen's No Money Down. It's a little $10 book. I made hundreds of thousands of dollars off that book. I may have even made over $1 million on the techniques from that one little book. It's crazy. You just gotta, whatever you study, go do it. Don't sit there going, oh, this doesn't work, and come up with all these BS reasons why it doesn't work. Just do it. Get out there and do it. All right, this is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. 281-558-5738 is the call-in number. 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to AM 700, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Real estate accounts for more millionaires in America than any other investment vehicle. This second stream of income can truly change your life. More time for travel and romance, more time for family and fitness, more time for whatever you want to do with your life. To find out how to build this second stream of income, attend our free 2-hour introductory workshop on real estate investing. To reserve a seat, visit GetRealWealth.com and click on the free workshop button at the top of the page. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. We are in the final segment of today's show, so if you've got a question for me, you need to call now. 281-558-5738. That's 281-558-KSEV. Let's go to the phone lines now. We've got an anonymous caller with a follow-up to the last call. Anonymous, thanks a lot for calling in. How are you today?
I'm fine, Steve. How are you?
Excellent. How can I help?
Hey, just heard that last guy. I was where he was, and I've actually had a conversation with you, and it's probably been a couple of years back. And, man, you seem like a great guy. I actually joined a different real estate club that does not sound near as good as the one you had. The fact you can make a phone call and talk to somebody in your club, you can't do that with the other one I'm in. So,
oh, wow.
Anyway, if the guy, I personally, I don't know him from Adam. He doesn't know me from Adam. I got nothing, I have no skin in this game. And anyway, just highly recommend you if Ralph's still listening. That's all I have to say.
Wow, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, you take care. Thanks for calling in. That was very kind of him. Okay, let's go to an email. This is from who's becoming a friend of mine, a member of Real Wealth Academy, Daniel. He says this. He says, Steve, that is me. I bought homes, 2 of them, made the money, had 10 cars and 2 motorcycles a few years ago, made $10,000 per month and spent all but $400 per month. Now I sold 6 cars, still has 4 motorcycles, and finally pulled equity out of my home after paying off a lot of debt, and now I'm starting your program at 50. And he's fired up. He goes, let's go. And this is I want to say something about the 4 motorcycles. Some of you are going, oh, he needs to sell those too. You got to be cautious. Sometimes your passion, if it sounds like he's got a passion for motorcycles. So I have no problems with him having 4 motorcycles. Now, if they start eating so far into his earned income that they're a burden, yeah, get rid of them, then buy the passive income, then buy them back, and maybe buy nicer ones. But I'm not telling you to sell everything. It's get rid of the things that you really can't afford. If you're making 10 grand a month and you got $400 left at the end of the month, you are living a lie. You're living a lifestyle that appears to be successful, but really isn't. You've traded financial success for the appearance of financial success. So I love this email. Thank you so much, Daniel. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV, or email me at asksteve@getrealwealth.com. asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Okay, this is a Debbie, and she's talking about getting a problem tenant out and trying the cash for keys method. The cash for keys method for me, Debbie, was never more than the security deposit. In other words, if I've got somebody that didn't pay me on the 1st and it's the 20th and they're saying they're not going to pay, then I usually tell them, look, I'll make a deal with you. How would you like to get your entire security deposit back? I'd love that. All right, move out before the 30th and leave the place in the exact same condition that I gave it to you, and I'll give you all of your security deposit back. That has worked almost every time. I mean, I'm talking 99% of the time I've been able to talk people into doing that. Now, the other 1% was one guy who was he just beat up the property. There was no way he could give it back to me. So he just bailed. But every other time it's worked. I kept his security deposit, as you can imagine, and then went after him for the balance. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. To continue with this question, Debbie, do not offer more money than that. they're already stiffing you a month's rent, so that's $1,500 you're giving them, and you're offering them your $1,500 to move out. In other words, giving them back their security deposit. I think you'll win with that one, Debbie, because like I said, it worked almost every time I've ever done it. Okay, if you want to email me a question, it's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Okay, the next question. This one's interesting because it's so ridiculous. And Rick is asking, and by the way, very well-written email. Don't get me wrong. I'm just harassing him because you don't ever let somebody move in. I want you to think about this, everybody. If a person doesn't have good enough credit to get the utilities in their name, are they qualified to rent your property? No. I can't believe I have to say that. Rick, you're getting the utility bills in your name, and you're passing those utility bills on to your tenant. Why? Because they couldn't qualify for them. That's a little bit crazy, Rick. Why would you let somebody can't even get utilities on in their name move into your house? Get them to put those utilities in their name as quickly as possible, or when this lease expires, 30 days before it expires, get them out of there. Send them a 30-day notice, because this family is going to be a problem sooner than later, I believe. So do not ever let anybody into your home without them turning on all utilities in their name. You can't have that expense. That's their expense. So I hope that helps, Rick. Sorry to make fun of you a little bit, but don't do that in the future, please. You cannot let somebody in there that can't get utilities turned on. If they can't get their utilities turned on, they're not qualified to be in your home. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV, or email me at asksteve@getrealwealth.com, asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Okay, the next question is from Hector. Hector's asking if he can use one mortgage for multiple properties. And the answer is yes, you can do a commercial loan. I have never done it. I don't know many people who have. There's some slick guy that told me he did it. I don't believe it worked the way he thought it did. And I can't even describe what it was that he did. It was so long ago, but I remember going, yeah, I took 6 of my houses and put them under one mortgage so I could get more mortgages. I'm like, how did that help you get what? Okay, maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. I don't think it would work that way. There's no reason to put single family houses in under one mortgage. Keep them all under separate mortgages. And if you say, well, I ran out of Fannie Mae loans, that's okay. You just switch to the little local banks and they'll give you portfolio loans to continue buying. There is no limit to the number of single family house mortgages you can have. There's only a limit to Fannie Mae, and you have to use those up first. In other words, if you do 6 Fannie Mae loans and then 4 regular loans, you're done. That counts as 10. You got to do all 10 Fannie Mae. Use up those Fannie Mae loans. Lowest closing costs, lowest interest rate, best terms. Use those 10 up, then switch to portfolio loans at a small local bank. Okay, I got an email from a friend of the show, Diane. I was able to hear you last night following up on cash for keys. How did you go after the tenant for the balance? Oh, I had to sue. That guy, I think it was $3,200, something like that. So I just went to court, got a judgment against him, and And then literally, I want to say 5 years later, he tried to buy a house and had to pay me. Yeah, judgments are not, I don't normally do it. It was an ego-based thing because he really let me be careful. I let myself get angry at his behavior. I got my ego involved, so I went and sued him. Now, have I done that before? Very, very, very rarely. Very rarely. I'd rather just pay for the extra repairs, get somebody else in there, and get the property cash flowing. All right, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Let's go to John now. How are you doing today?
Doing fine. Got a quick question. This is sort of a follow-up to that 401k you mentioned. Would that work for IRAs?
Yeah, you can self-direct an IRA easily into
I've
real
got
estate.
that, and I do that, but you talked about, pulling the money out and not having to pay taxes.
Well, you're pulling it out of your company's 401k and into your own 401k. And there's no tax or penalty on that. John, I'm sorry we've run out of time. Fire me an email and I'll give you a call. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Have a great rest of your day.
This has been the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Please remember that this show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as legal, tax, or investing advice. Always get a professional opinion before making any investment decision. To find out about the mentoring and consulting at Real Wealth Academy, visit GetRealWealth.com and attend one of our free introductory workshops on real estate investing. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thanks for listening and have a great rest of your day.